Okay. All right. A giant ass just made a nuclear fart. Why am I playing this? What the fuck is this game? Panic is a point-and-click puzzle game, I guess, that was developed by Sega and Office One in collaboration with Japanese theatrical group Wahaha Hampo. It was published in Japan by Sega as Switch for the Sega CD in 1993, and published by Data East in the US in 94. You play as a little boy named Slap, and later his dog Stick. A computer virus has made all of the machines in the world start acting crazy. The only way to fix things is to press switches and turn to normal the world. That's what it says in the manual. The manual also gives you 5 instructions on how to play Panic correctly. Each room has several switches that you can use. The switches range from buttons and actual switches to mysterious concoctions that you drink. Each of the switches that you use does something. Most of the time, it's some kind of gag, like something oozing on you. Or a charming light show. Or any other Monty Python-esque event. Other times, it's an absurd or surreal cutscene.
Take a bros break when you need relief. Or was that a relief break when you need roses? Never mind!
If you use the same switch again, the same thing happens again. Occasionally, using a switch destroys something. This could be anything from a famous monument, to someone's boat. After you mercilessly destroy some part of civilization, that button becomes disabled so you can't do it again. If none of those things happen, you're sent to another room. Sometimes you go forward, sometimes backwards, sometimes sideways. The only way to tell if you're making any progress is to use the map and keep track of what switch does what. I highly recommend being systematic when using the switches and taking careful notes, especially when you get to the monolith rooms. They're a maze within a maze, often sending you back and forth between several of the same rooms. As far as the controls go, you move the cursor around with the D-pad and operate switches with the buttons. Panic is compatible with the Sega Mega Mouse, but I couldn't get it to work consistently when loading a saved game. When it did work, it only worked in the first controller port, and I still needed a regular controller in port 2 to start the game. That's a real shame too, because the gameplay is perfect for using a mouse. At least the cursor stays put after each gag, so you'll know what switch you just pushed. Start shows you the progress map. You might notice some rooms seem to be missing from the map. 2 rooms were taken out for the American translation. Room 2B featured a cigarette machine. I can see why that was taken out. But Room 9B featured a Japanese typewriter, so I don't know why that one was taken out. I can't find any gameplay footage of the Japanese version either. If you know of any, let me know in the comments. Anyway, the brighter the room is in the map, the more switches you've used in that room. If you've used every switch in the room, the map space flashes. A series of red stars shows you how many switches you've used in that room, and if you've used them all, you get a big shiny blue star. Each room has a theme, and the gags tend to stay consistent with that theme. Some of the later rooms have puzzles, like this later elevator room. It looks like the first elevator, but you need to push the buttons multiple times to advance. Generally, these gags and cutscenes are harmless. However, there are a couple rooms that will end your game. They don't kill you, they just force you back to the beginning, so you have to start over.
Obviously, you're not meant for this game either. Goodbye!
The odds of hitting them are pretty thin, but if you've taken careful notes, it shouldn't take you long to get back on track. The gags are, well, they range from gross-outs that fail to deliver to just being absurd. They obviously have a Terry Gilliam influence, but this doesn't keep them from getting old really quick. Considering there are 125 rooms with 2 to 24 switches in each, even the most creative people would have trouble coming up with that many funny gags. The problem is, most of them aren't funny. The vast majority are just kinda meh. Some are kind of charming. Some are just dumb. Some make me say, what the hell? Some are just bizarre.
It's a hand job, this is a hand job, that... Man, I got to stop hanging around on this street corner.
But I didn't find any of them particularly humorous. Panic gets tedious pretty quickly. It's especially frustrating when you're sent backwards. If you want to see all or most of the gags, systematically going through the switches is fine. You'll eventually make it through most rooms to the end. But if the gags don't interest you, well, you're out of luck. Systematically going through the switches and making a map is pretty much the only way you're going to make progress. Besides a couple of puzzles in a few rooms, it's just a matter of seeing what each switch does and hoping you get somewhere. When I got this game, it came in a lot of about a dozen Sega CD games. Most of them I wouldn't have bought on their own. Panic is one of those. It certainly is unique. I have to praise Sega and Data East for putting out a game that's just so very different and avant-garde. The gameplay is solid and consistent. The music isn't annoying. Quite frankly, I'm at a loss of what to say about this game. I didn't find Panic entertaining, nor particularly enjoyable, but it didn't make me angry or frustrate me with unfair gameplay, because there really isn't much gameplay to get frustrated or angry about. It's a maze where silly and surreal events happen at literally the push of a button. It would be easy to write Panic off as just one of those Japanese games. But if that was true, it wouldn't have been released in America. Somebody thought the American audience would find it enjoyable. I just wasn't one of those people, I guess. If you're a fan of Monty Python and Terry Gilliam, I mean a big fan, you'll probably find the gags at least mildly humorous. But as someone in his early 40s, I've grown out of most of the humor that this game relies on. I like absurd humor, but Panic just doesn't do it for me. Thanks for checking out my review of the game Panic. I do other game reviews too. I also fix video games sometimes. Go ahead and check those out. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Facebook. The links are in the description.